Welcome back. Now we're through with rigid bodies, and we're going to start talking about soft bodies. So what are soft bodies? They're similar to rigid bodies. They move around, they can fall with gravity, they can be pushed around, they can impact other objects. But unlike rigid bodies, soft bodies can bend and deform, like jello, or like say a sheet of paper, or a bouncing rubber ball, or lots of other things, clay, whatever you can really imagine. So let's go ahead and create some soft bodies and see how these things work inside XSI. I'll hit F12 over this camera viewport to go ahead and maximize it. And we're going to need some objects here to play around with. So we're going to need a floor and something to represent some kind of a rubber ball that's going to be bouncing around in our scene. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go up here to Get Primitive. We'll go to Polygon Mesh and create a cube. This is going to be our floor. I'm going to close the PPG. Use X on the keyboard to activate the scale tool. And I'll go ahead and scale this out like so to try to create some kind of a floor surface here. Very simple. I'll go from wireframe to a shaded view, and I'll also turn on wireframe on shaded to make things easier to see. Now we have to create ourselves a sphere to represent the bouncing ball. So I'll go to Primitive, Polygon Mesh, and I'll grab myself a sphere. Okay. I'm going to increase the subdivisions from 8 and 8 to 24 and 24. The more subdivisions that you have, the better the simulation is going to be, the more realistic it's going to be. But the slower it's going to be to calculate, because the system now has to calculate a denser, more high-res mesh. So that's something to keep in mind. So I'll move the sphere up here. Alright? And if I hit play, nothing's going to happen. So let me go back to the first frame. Let me increase the number of frames here from 100 to 500. That should be enough. Okay? What we need to do is add gravity to our scene. So what we can do is select the sphere, go up to Force, select Gravity, close that PPG, and now if I go ahead and I hit play, nothing's going to happen. This is because the sphere isn't any type of a dynamic object yet. It's not a rigid body or soft body, so it doesn't even matter if we have gravity, it's still not going to work. So we have to go ahead and fix that. So let's select the sphere, and let's go over here and we'll go to the Create menu, and we'll select Soft Body from Selection. It's the only option you can actually select. Once we do that, XSI does some calculations, as you can see, and the soft body operator window opens up, this property page that allows us to change the soft body parameters, dynamics, also lets us select some presets and things like that. We'll close this PPG and we'll come back to it in a moment and dissect it and see what it's all about. Right now I'm going to hit play, and you notice nothing happens. Because I created the soft body after I applied the gravity force to the scene, the gravity won't work with the sphere right now. So to fix that, it's pretty easy. I'll select the sphere, then I'll go down here under the Modify menu and click on Environment. And then I have some options here. The option I want is Apply Force. So I'll select Apply Force, and now XSI is asking me which force would you like to apply to the sphere that you selected. Since the gravity is the force I want to apply, I'll just select the gravity. And then I'll hit the right mouse button to end. A PPG opens up, but we can close it. And now if I hit play, the sphere is now affected by the gravity, as you can see. So we're on to something good here. Unfortunately, right now the sphere is just going through the floor like a ghost. We need to fix that. So it's pretty easy. Make sure you have the sphere selected. What we have to do is tell XSI that we would like to apply this floor as an obstacle for the sphere. So we'll select the sphere first. We'll go back to the Modify menu, we'll go to Environment again, and instead of picking Apply Force, we'll select Set Obstacle. So select Set Obstacle, and XSI is going to ask you which obstacle or obstacles would you like to choose for this sphere. So I'll just left click on this floor, and then right click to end the pick session, and a PPG opens up. I can close that, don't need it. And now if I hit play, you'll notice that the sphere actually makes contact with the floor and it just flattens out. Let's stop the animation. Let's zoom in here and see what we have. The sphere was completely deformed. Okay, based on the default parameters of its physical attributes and its dynamic properties, this is what happened. Instead of the sphere just bouncing off like an iron ball or a bowling ball or something hard like that, it folded up on itself. It deformed, it flattened out, it just kind of splatted on there, okay? Like a soft object would, like jello would, or some kind of other soft object would. So if you drop a loaf of bread, it'll deform, it'll bend and kind of wiggle around and whatnot. So that's what a soft body is. I'll hit home to go back to the first frame. So now let's go ahead and let's take a look at the soft body operator parameters to see how we can change the behavior of this sphere when it makes contact and impacts the floor. So what I'll do is with the sphere selected, I'll go over here to the MCP and click on the selection button here. And now I'll click on the soft body op. Now one thing you want to make certain, if you notice the soft body operators underneath the modeling menu here, the modeling construction mode stack. This is not what you want to do. The problem with this is that if I go ahead and I freeze modeling on this sphere, I'll lose the soft body op, which would be a serious problem because that would undo all the work that I just did. So to get around that problem and solve it, the best thing to do is to make sure that you apply the soft body op to the animation construction mode up here. So usually the way you do that is before you apply the soft body operator, before you come over here to create and go to soft body and create from selection, you usually go up here and you switch from modeling construction mode to animation construction mode. Then you come over here and create the soft body. That way the soft body operators, you can see, if I select the sphere, go back to selection, the soft body operator would be placed under animation. If you did it the way that I did, that's okay. The beautiful thing about XSI and its nonlinear workflow is that you can simply click and drag the soft body op up here in between animation and shape modeling, between the green and the blue, let go, and there you go. Now the soft body op is placed underneath the animation construction mode and it's out of the modeling construction mode. So if I were to take this object now and freeze modeling on it, I'll go ahead and freeze the modeling stack here, but I'll leave the animation stack alone. Hence, the soft body op will not be affected and will not be destroyed or deleted, which is a good thing. Alright, so what we'll do now is with the soft body op selected, hit enter on the keyboard to open up its PPG. Now you can see we have several different parameter sets here. We have the cube obstacle, down here to gravity. Go ahead and click on those to collapse them because we don't need them. Right now we're interested in just the soft body operator up here. And it's broken down into 4 different tabs. Alright? So we'll talk about the simulation tab in the next video. Right now we're just going to focus on getting the soft body to work. And in the next video we'll focus on performance. So here under soft body we can control different types of parameters. We can control the sampling, which is going to directly affect the performance, the quality, and the speed at which this object is calculated. Then we can control other things like stiffness, and stiffness will control how stiff this object is. Is it really soft like jello, or is it really hard like a really hard piece of rubber? We can also choose to make a XSI not stretch the object, or we can allow it to stretch by unchecking this check mark. We can also control the body mass here, or the weight of the object. So if the object really dense, is it really heavy, or is it very lightweight? We can control the body friction, so we can increase or decrease the amount of friction this object has when it makes impact with an obstacle, in this case the floor. And we can also control the plasticity of the object, and this controls how the object is deformed. Sort of if you take a plastic little ping pong ball and you take your thumb and you squeeze into it really hard and it just bends into itself. Well, if you let go of the ball and place it on the table, it's not going to regain its shape. It's going to permanently stay dented in. Well, that's what plasticity controls. Plasticity, using the threshold and the damping parameters, will control if an object is resilient and regains its shape like a rubber ball or a balloon, or will an object be permanently deformed by something, like say a hard piece of plastic which would deform and stay permanently damaged. Over here, if we switch to dynamics, we have several different parameters we can choose here, and we'll talk more about these once we get into the another video, a couple of videos down, about how to animate with soft bodies. That's where it'll really come into play. And then we have presets, and presets are very interesting. Soft bodies come with presets. Here we have 8 different presets for different types of materials. So to get us jump started and get us going here, right, because if I hit play and we watch this this ball just hit the ground, it just kind of flattens out, as you can see. Okay, it just splats onto the ground, completely deforms. But we can choose a preset to change its behavior. So for example, if we choose the clay preset, and now we hit play, you'll notice that it just splats straight down, like so, and just kind of flattens out, kind of like a soft, mushy, wet clump of clay. Okay? Let me go ahead and pin down this PPG by clicking the keyhole icon just so it doesn't go anywhere by accident. I can choose other presets here, so go ahead and have some fun choosing some of these presets, like balloon for example, and play that, and you notice that it kind of behaves more like a balloon. It doesn't flatten out, stays stiff, keeps its shape. We can choose a rubber ball over here and have it just fall down. You can see it's processing, it's calculating the simulation, and it'll go slow the first time. And you can see how it's bouncing and stretching just the way that a nice medium to soft rubber ball would bounce and stretch, as you can see. You can catch right there the bouncing. If I go slowly, frame by frame, you can see the bouncing effect right there. See that? So it's got that bouncy, squashy effect like a real rubber ball would have. We can choose something like bowling ball over here. Now the object is going to be very stiff, and it's going to behave like a bowling ball, or like something that's very heavy, very hard, and doesn't bend too much, if at all. And we have a few other things like water balloon bubble, foam rubber airbag. So you can test out those presets on your own and see how they react and how they behave. Okay? When we chose the presets, if we go back to SoftBody, you'll notice that these parameters have changed. Each time we choose a preset, like let's say clay for example, and go back to SoftBody, the parameters here changed. So to create your own type of material, say if you wanted to create a preset for jello, because there isn't a preset for jello here, you can play around with these parameters and set them up and continue testing and testing until you get an object that deforms and behaves like jello. Once you do, you can save out the preset very easily. Just go up here to this little folder icon and go to Save Preset. Just name it whatever you want. If you want to call it jello or whatever it is that you want to call it, that's fine. And then in future scenes, you can go ahead and just pull up those presets and continue to use them over and over again to save you time. So we can see the different parameters here have been changed by these presets. Okay, so that's going to cover this video. Just quickly, we just went in here and created a soft body simulation. It's very easy to do, very simple to do. We just got straight to it. We didn't talk about it too much in depth or some of the more interesting things you can do with it. So in the next video, we'll continue talking about these soft bodies and get a little more in depth into the optimization parameters and how to control the speed and the accuracy of the simulation.